So today we're going to be taking a look at a scenario where the Islamic Empire reforms. Now this empire fell back in 1258 when the Mongols invaded, but let's just go ahead and say that it reformed in 2022. Now the entire empire won't be like coming up out of nowhere. We're going to have one country in particular invading its neighbors in order to reform this empire. So all of the land that the Umayyad Caliphate had will be, claimed by this country in this video. So if you enjoy it, make sure to leave a like on it and subscribe to the channel if you're new, and let's go ahead and get started. So the country that's going to be forming this empire is going to be Saudi Arabia, because Islam originated in Mecca and Mecca is in Saudi Arabia. We're also going to be completely disregarding all major alliances such as NATO, world organizations such as the UN or the European Union, stuff like that. In order to form the second Umayyad Caliphate, they're going to have to invade a lot of countries. So let's go ahead and jump right into this. First off, we have Saudi Arabia taking advantage of one of their weaker neighbors, that being Kuwait. They managed to outnumber Kuwait and easily push across the border and take over the country swiftly. With this, we have Kuwait being fully integrated. Now this is a rather small advancement, but it is an advancement nonetheless. Next up, we have Saudi Arabia invading Qatar. And of course Bahrain, but Bahrain has barely been represented here, so let's just go ahead and say Bahrain was invaded. So Saudi Arabia declares war on Qatar and manages to wipe out the country pretty easily. And with that, we have another country being integrated into Saudi Arabia. So now Saudi Arabia has to invade another neighbor, and that neighbor is going to be Yemen. So taking advantage of Yemen here and, kind of interfering on their civil war thing, they just invade from the north. They usually manage to push down the coast, and eventually they take out the entire country and take over their little island. So now we have the Islamic Empire having a pretty big sphere of influence over the Arabian Peninsula, and they're going to have to invade Oman, and then the UAE, and then they'll have all of the Arabian Peninsula. So in a big ballsy move here, we have the Islamic Empire declaring war on both Oman and the UAE at the same time. Also, if I haven't mentioned this already, obviously Saudi Arabia is buffed for this. As for a lot of my videos, the country in question is usually buffed just to make the video more entertaining. If I made it more realistic, there would be a lot of, back and forth, and it would just be repetitive. So buffing the country kind of takes away the realism, but in return, it makes it more entertaining. So if you're just casually watching, then it's more of an experience. But if you're like watching this for, strategically, then maybe not so much. Anyway, Saudi Arabia first takes over the UAE and manages to capture the country. While in the south, we do see Oman pushing into Yemen. They also start a small push out from their mainland country, but eventually the Saudi Arabian forces in the UAE start to push down into Oman. Oman is pushed back out of Saudi Arabia, and eventually after pushing in on all sides, we have Oman surrendering. So with that, all of Arabia is now under the control of Saudi Arabia, or I should say the Islamic Empire, and this is going to be one part of the empire. So this is going to be one of them, Saudi Arabia. They might advance up into Jordan and Iraq, but for now, this is the base. And then, of course, we're going to have like the Persian part, the North African part, the Spanish part, all that good stuff. So from here, we have the Islamic Empire declaring war on Jordan. Now, in turn, this does bring Iran into the war, and this is going to be pretty interesting because now the Islamic Empire has a pretty big power to the north, and they're going to actually have to put up a fight now. So at first, we have Saudi forces pushing into Jordan, as well as southern Iraq. Overall, we see progress being made by the Islamic Empire, and they even managed to cut off Jordan from Iraq. Jordan eventually surrenders, but we do see Iraq and Iran pushing back the Islamic Empire. Now, in real life, this might be a pretty equally matched fight, but in this scenario, like I said earlier, Saudi Arabia, or I guess I should say the Islamic Empire, will be buffed. So they managed to push back Iraq and Iran and to resume their push into Iraq. Eventually Baghdad is taken and forces cross over into Iran. Now it's at this time that we see people in other countries start to like the idea of a new Islamic Empire, and support for this new empire starts to grow. We have people in Iran starting to rise up and overthrow some Iranian forces as well as infrastructure, which gives way for the Islamic Empire to invade Iran even further. Eventually, their capital is taken, and we have the full-on surrender of Iran. So taking a look at this new map here, we have the Persian part of the Islamic Empire, and then we have the Arabian part. Anyway, with this, we have obviously a pretty big power over here on the map. Like I said, red is the Islamic Empire. And now we're probably going to see it expand even more rapidly just because of the sheer power of this. Iran is strong, Saudi Arabia is strong. Now we have both of them together, and that's going to be really interesting. So now the empire declares war on Syria and basically slaps around every rebel force there as well as the government. Now I know there's foreign troops here and they would probably get killed in this, but like I said, we're gonna disregard that, slide it under the carpet, and just say that that never happened. So with that, we have a new section of the Islamic Empire being made. This is like, I guess, the northern Middle Eastern part, or whatever you want to call it. So we have Syria in that. Eventually, we're going to have Turkey as well as Lebanon. Speaking of Lebanon, they opt to join this Islamic Empire without war, so they do so diplomatically. And we also have Palestine joining in on this empire. So with that, we have Israel looking a little vulnerable. Now, of course, Israel has nuclear bombs here, and obviously they're not going to be using this into this video because I never use nuclear bombs. And if you think I should use nuclear bombs, then you're wrong. So the north of Israel is taken, Jerusalem is captured, and with that, all of Israel is taken over. And just like that, the Middle East borders are looking a lot cleaner. There's still some straight lines, which is, I guess, a scar from European colonialism. But overall, it's looking nice and unified. When it comes to stability, I'm not too sure if it would be able to hold up. But this video is obviously focusing around the Islamic Empire, therefore, they will be able to kind of maintain everything. So now the Islamic Empire has to face a couple challenges here. They are surrounding a bunch of strong countries. They have to invade Turkey, Egypt, Pakistan, and eventually India. Although I don't think I'm going to be including India in this video just because I think that it would be, you know. So now we have the Islamic Empire declaring war on Azerbaijan. At first, this goes really well as we have Iranian troops pushing into the country. They take the exclave, but eventually we do see Turkey join in on this war. Now, due to this, we also see Armenia join in, as well as Georgia joining in order to kind of help out Turkey in pushing back the Islamic Empire. Seeing a peak opportunity here, we also see Greece join in on this war. So they're going to be helping out the Islamic Empire in hopes of taking back some of their older lands. So the first thing we see happening here is Turkey pushing into northern Syria, as well as pushing into Armenia, which they wipe out almost immediately. We see Greece push into Turkey, and we also see Persia make a push into southern Turkey. Azerbaijan is continuing to be pushed back until eventually their coast is captured and the country falls. With this, we have Turkey being pushed out of Armenia, and the front line in Azerbaijan being expanded. At this point, we also see the claims in southern Turkey being expanded, but we also do see Turkey pushing further down into Syria. Over in Europe, Greece is being pushed back, and overall, this war looks like it's going either way, but eventually we do see the Islamic Empire make a breakthrough as they push through and cut off Georgia from Turkey. They then immediately take over the entire country and start a rapid advance into Turkey. With this, we see Turkey withdrawing all their troops from Syria, so all that goes back to the Islamic Empire, and they push up from Syria and into mainland Turkey. We also see Greece push back, and I just realized that I've been calling Turkey by the wrong name. I still gotta adjust, so if I call Turkey, then it's because I haven't adjusted to the new name. So Turkey here isn't looking too good anymore. We have Greece capturing Istanbul, and this really isn't good for Turkey because Istanbul is like pretty important. So with the Islamic Empire flooding in from the east, and Greece making some pretty astonishing progress in the west, we have Turkey surrendering. So once again, taking a look at another peace treaty here. We have the, I guess, Syrian part of the Islamic Empire expanding upwards. But overall, this is probably more of a government reform, and then we have like a new Turkish ruling party or something like that. I don't think that Syria would be in charge of all this land simply because this land up here would be more powerful than Syria. But obviously, that's not really an important aspect of the video. Red equals strong, powerful, main focus. That's what the video means. And of course, considering Greece, they got back a lot of their older lands and a lot of their older claims. And also regarding Cyprus. Now, since Greece helped out the Islamic Empire in invading Turkey, they made an agreement, and that being that the Islamic Empire will not invade Cyprus since Greece helped out. And overall, that's a pretty big win for Greece because Cyprus obviously has close ties to Greece in real life, and Cyprus used to be a part of the Islamic Empire. So now the Islamic Empire is finished in expanding west. They're also done expanding north. But they do have to invade, well, I guess, southwest. So they declare war on Greece and use some pretty interesting tactics here. Now those tactics include absolutely sprinting towards Cairo at a very high velocity. And eventually when that city is taken, we just continue to sprint very quickly. They push down the Egyptian coast. And after everyone is really confused on how they did it so quickly, we have Egypt absolutely just dying. With that, we have a new part of the Islamic Empire, this time it being Egypt. So regarding to Northern Africa here, we actually have a pretty interesting term. Now regarding to Northern Africa here, we have a pretty interesting outcome. That being Libya just joining the empire openly. So with that, we have Libya being joined together with Egypt. Now, once again, I don't think Egypt would maintain rule over this. I think there would be some kind of cooperative government. And once again, like I said earlier, Arabia is like the core state, and then these other states are more like, I guess, provinces. Well, not necessarily provinces. They're a part of the main ruling. They don't really have any form of autonomy. They don't have any form of like independence or anything like that. They're directly being ruled by Arabia as if it were just a part of the country. I guess the borders between here are just to more show the regions of the empire. Anyway, next up, we have Tunisia opting to join this empire. Once again, we're seeing a lot of Islamic countries over here in North Africa just opting to join this empire. Next up, we have Algeria also joining this empire. Now, like I said, this seems to be beneficial for a lot of these North African countries being under one union, and it looks pretty promising. So a lot of them are opting to join in. So with this, we have the Islamic Empire looking very, very thick. But there is one problem, and that problem being Morocco, who doesn't really want to join. And this reason is mainly because Algeria just joined. They would be open to join if Algeria wasn't there. And if you didn't know, Morocco and Algeria have been having tensions over, I guess, Israel, I think it was. And realistically, which isn't really a major aspect of my videos, it would be kind of weird to see Morocco just openly join. So, the Islamic Empire goes to war with Morocco. We do see some groups in Morocco pop up in support of joining the Islamic Empire, and overall this weakens Morocco. So in turn, we have the Islamic Empire making an easy push into Morocco and eventually capitulating the country. And eventually Morocco is set up as its own region of the Islamic Empire. Once again, this is due to Algeria. So if Algeria wasn't a problem and Morocco and Algeria were, I guess, friends in real life, then they would just be a part of North Africa. So next up, Spain. Spain used to be part of the Islamic Empire. Specifically, they used to be a part of Andalusia. I forgot the name there for a second. So I guess the southern region of Spain here used to be part of the Islamic Empire. And it wasn't even actually just the southern part. It was all the way up to Catalonia and a little bit into France. And it was in France, Tours to be specific, that the Islamic Empire was stopped and pushed back out of Europe. Now in this scenario, I'm just going to be having the Islamic Empire take over Andalusia and not the rest of Portugal and Spain. So war is declared on Spain. The Islamic Empire crosses the Strait of Gibraltar and makes a landing in southern Spain. They quickly manage to take over all of Andalusia, and eventually Spain kind of agrees to their peace talks. So a majority of Andalusia, as well as a little bit of another province, is put into the Islamic Empire. Now it was made into its own thing since Spain is a Catholic country, and just to kind of appease people that are there who may not be in support of this new Islamic Empire, they were given some form of autonomy. So now the Islamic Empire is looking very, very much like it did back in like the 1100s. But there's just one more place that this empire has to expand, and that is into Afghanistan and Pakistan, as well as Turkmenistan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan. But I'm not going to be covering that because that's Central Asia. We all know what would happen. So the Islamic Empire declares war on Afghanistan. So with the new government of Afghanistan, I'm not really sure how they would react in this scenario, but I'm just going to go ahead and presume that they would fight back. They might be open for an Islamic Empire, and I don't really know if I don't know. But anyway, Afghanistan is clapped just like how it was back in August, and a new section of the Islamic Empire forms. Now, Pakistan is under some pretty heavy pressure here. They're bordered by the Islamic Empire, which is looking a little bit stronger than India, and then of course they're bordered by their main rival, India. So they hold a vote in order to see if they're going to join the Islamic Empire or go to war with the Islamic Empire. Now, Pakistan is a pretty heavily populated country, so it's going to take some time. So they notify the Islamic Empire and just say, hey, don't invade us because we might join you. Now, India, on the other hand, has no clue about this because they're too busy. Maldives. So eventually, the vote is passed, and 53% of Pakistanis say they want to join the Islamic Empire, while 45% say they don't want to, and then like 2% is unaccounted for. So with this, Pakistan joins the Islamic Empire, and they're also given Afghanistan in a sort of appeasement for anyone in the government that might have opposed it. So now they have Afghanistan under their control, but I'm not really sure if that would be good for them because Afghanistan's a mess. And finally, the Islamic Empire has formed. A lot of you are really happy right now, and some of you are questionably angry. Do remember that this video is just for fun. Obviously, this is really unrealistic on multiple aspects. My videos are geared to be unrealistic and entertaining, not realistic and not entertaining. So if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like on it and subscribe to the channel if you're new. That really helps me out and shows that you guys are liking these videos. I do tend to brush past the whole subscribe thing, and I don't really think I should be like in your face, like subscribe every 5 seconds, but subscribe. Obviously like the video if you liked it, and yeah, merchandise is going away in 1 week, 7 days. If you have not picked up something already, I recommend doing it as soon as possible because it will never be sold again. To be more specific, the 25K design will never be sold ever again. If you want to pick something up, you don't have to. Obviously, I'm not forcing you to do it, but limited time stuff, big deal. You can find all that stuff at AdizzPromerch.com. Anyway, I want to thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.